Hi, my name is Richard Curtis. I'm a solutions consultant here at Adobe, and I look after digital imaging. The products I look after are Photoshop, Lightroom and Elements, but also look at the workflows around Creative Cloud. Today it's really exciting to talk to you about Lightroom Mobile and show you how Lightroom Mobile works and explain to you how you get pictures on your tablet device, be it your iPad or your iPhone, how you work with your pictures, and how to send those adjustments and enhancements back to your Lightroom on your desktop. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is open Lightroom. Lightroom Mobile is great, and it's a great way for you to work on your pictures when you're on the go, either when you're traveling or when you're just at home on the sofa, or maybe when you're out and about and you want to use that extra free time that you have so you don't have to be at the computer all of the time, either on your laptop or your desktop. However, Lightroom on the desktop is still the source for all your pictures, and Lightroom Mobile is really the companion app that we can use for that. So how does it work? So once you've installed Lightroom 5.5, the first thing to do is head over to Lightroom Preferences, and inside Preferences you have the Lightroom Mobile tab. Under the Lightroom Mobile tab you need to log in with your creative identity, and once you've done that, Lightroom will automatically start to look at your Creative Cloud Lightroom Mobile space and look at any changes that need to be brought in from either the tablet devices or the mobile devices into Lightroom on the desktop, or any changes that have been made on Lightroom desktop that you've told to go into the Creative Cloud and then onto your mobile devices. In the status bar at the top here in Lightroom, I'm just going to turn on the Show Status and Activity. This will show me anything that's happening with Lightroom Mobile as I'm working with Lightroom. You can see here that on the desktop we have some pictures, ones that I recently took in Bhutan. And what I'd like to do is work on these on my iPad. The way that Lightroom Mobile is set up for mobile devices is via something called Collections. And I'm pretty sure you're familiar with Collections already, but just in case you're not, here's how they work. So now we're in Collections, I want to be able to make a collection for these Bhutan pictures for my iPad. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the plus icon and I'm going to create a collection. A collection is really a static set of photographs that you can add to or remove from whenever you like, but you're in control of when pictures go into them or not. Now I'm just going to create this collection now. I'm going to call it Bhutan, and I'm going to include the selected photographs. So notice there is only one selected in Lightroom. But that's okay, because I'm going to show you how to add them and remove them manually. So I'm going to include selected photographs, and I'm going to sync with Lightroom Mobile, and I'm also going to turn on something called Set as Target Collection. I'll explain how that works in a few minutes, because it's really handy. When I press Create, that creates me the collection with the name Bhutan with a plus by the side of it, and the plus is representing the fact that it's a target collection. You can see that I have one picture in there, which was the one I had selected in the film strip. You can also see the little lightning bolt next to the collection. This means this is synchronizing with Lightroom Mobile. You can see in the top left of the screen, Lightroom is synchronizing one picture into the Creative Cloud and into Lightroom Mobile. So let's have a look at that quickly now and see how that works. I can go over to my Adobe identity by going to adobe.com, and you can see there that the Creative Cloud has logged me in, and I'm just using my Adobe ID to do that. Everything now on Creative Cloud is around your Adobe ID, which is great because it means you've got your content everywhere, wherever you need it. In here we have on the left hand side a menu panel, and in there we have Lightroom Photos. If I click on this, it will take me to the Lightroom collections that I have on my Creative Cloud. You can see there that I have Bhutan and Playfest. Playfest is another catalogue that I'm synchronizing to Lightroom Mobile. If I click on the thumbnail, it will take me into the catalogue. There's only one photograph there because I've only synchronized one so far. And if I click on this picture, you can see that I have now my picture coming in from Lightroom Mobile. So let's add some more pictures. Let's go navigate to my folders now, because I need to tell Lightroom which pictures to add to my collection. Now what I can do is I can just mark the pictures that I want to put into the collection just using the Shift key and select the ones that I want if I'm selecting the first and last, or I can use the Control key or the Command key on the Mac to select individual pictures. Once I have that, I can then open my collection. I can then drag and drop those pictures into the collection that I've created called Bhutan. And you can see now that goes to 9. Now what I may want to do is add these in very quickly just by selecting them all by using the target collection. I can select the pictures that I want to add to my collection and then press the B key. The B key will add all of those pictures into the collection automatically. And you can see that now in my Bhutan folder, I have 33 pictures. You can see that Lightroom has started to move those pictures into my Creative Cloud and onto Lightroom Mobile automatically. So I'm not having to do anything, it's doing all that work for me. If I want to remove something from that target collection, say for example, I don't want this picture here, I can also press the B key and that will remove that picture from the collection. And then if that's synchronizing with Creative Cloud, it will automatically remove that from the Creative Cloud collection for me. It's still synchronizing some photographs. So let's go and have a look at Lightroom Mobile and see what's going on there. Okay, so here we are back in the browser view. I'm just going to refresh this and you can see now that there's a lot more pictures coming through. So this is really where my collection is becoming much more active. The type of things I can do here are that I can click on this picture and I can start a slideshow, and this will run in the browser for me and automatically advance to the next picture. I can also share this with others while it's in Lightroom Mobile. All I have to do that is click on the sharing options, and then I can choose whether it's going to be private or limited public. I can also here cut and paste or copy and paste the sharing information or the URL to get to that collection. If I view that, you then see exactly what a viewer of this collection will see when you share that link with them. I can also, at the top of the collection in the web view, I can filter these pictures as well. Now I haven't started to rank them and edit them yet, so I'm just going to leave that. But I can edit them via the flag system, either unflagged or picked, or I can show the sort by the capture time or the custom order, and I can also show what's called badge overlays, and badge overlays is really the number of stars that I may have assigned to these. Let's head on over to Lightroom Mobile onto the iPad. Okay, so now we're in Lightroom on the iPad, you can see that on the screen just there. I'm going to navigate to my Lightroom Mobile, which I've already downloaded from the Apple App Store. So I put them into a little folder on the iPad called Imaging, and I select Lightroom Mobile. Lightroom Mobile on the iPad will automatically log me in if I'm already logged into it. If not, you log in with your Adobe ID again. It will automatically start looking at collections that you're synchronizing from Lightroom on the desktop. And you can see here that we have 32 pictures from our Bhutan collection. Now there's a few things I can do while I'm in the iPad. One is I can start a slideshow exactly the same as in the web view. To do that, I press the play button and it will start the slideshow running. And you can see that there. You can also change the orientation of the iPad as well. Now, one of the important things to notice is that when you synchronize a collection with Lightroom Mobile for the iPad, initially it's synchronizing the previews or the thumbnails of the pictures. And every time you go into a picture, it will download the version from the Creative Cloud. Now, the version of the Creative Cloud is something called a Smart Preview. And the Smart Previews are much, much smaller than your real RAW files. The beauty of Lightroom Mobile is that you're able to work on your RAW files on the go on your iPad, which means that you don't have to convert them to JPEG or anything like that. You can actually edit them as naturally. Now you say, well, my RAW files are really big. How is the iPad able to manage that? Well, we're using a technology in Lightroom called Smart Previews. And Smart Previews will apply compression to those RAW files and take them down. Now what I'm finding on my pictures is it takes them down to about 40 times smaller than the original RAW files, which means I can store thousands of pictures on my iPad without using lots of space. I mentioned initially the pictures are coming down as thumbnails. But if I want to go offline and work on this without an internet connection, because obviously to get the full res version of the raw file, you will need to have an internet connection. So to get the smart previews down to my local device, I enable on the collection offline editing. And on the three little dots on the thumbnail here, you can see I can enable offline editing. You can see that Lightroom tells me that I need X amount of space, and in this case I need 52 megabytes for 32 pictures. And it also tells me how much I have free. So I can say download, and that will download, and you can see it downloading now to my device. On a recent trip, I was synchronizing 1,000 to 1,500 pictures a day to do my edits when I'm traveling between shoots. So you really can have lots of pictures running at any one time on your iPad. Now I use Lightroom Mobile for work in progress, so it's not really storing pictures there that are using all the time to show friends and relatives. It's really a workflow process for me to start my edit on the go and then use Lightroom on the desktop to finish my edit. And once I've finished my edit for a collection, I'll then remove that collection and make a new collection for something else. Now obviously, if you're downloading content, you really only want to be downloading on a Wi-Fi network unless you have an unlimited data plan. So you need to obviously tell Lightroom Mobile only to synchronize when you're working with Wi-Fi, not a 3G network. And that's really easy to set up. Inside the badge, you've got a menu option here which is sync only over Wi-Fi, and you can see there it's currently set to on. If I turn that off, it will synchronize both 3G, 4G and Wi-Fi whenever it gets a connection. So I probably wouldn't do that if I were you. I'll probably keep that to Wi-Fi. Now you can see I'm presenting here, so I'm using presentation mode, which shows that little red dot so you can see exactly where on the screen I'm pushing. Obviously with Lightroom Mobile being on an iPad, it's obviously gesture based, so you can see the gestures that Lightroom supports by clicking the gestures panel. So that's coming down now, and they're coming down quite nicely. So I'm just going to go into this collection so you can see more information and see how Lightroom works on the iPad. So let's just go to this first picture here. Now I already have some star ratings on these, so I've actually done a little edit on them already, as you saw previously. But if I just navigate around the screen, you can see how this is working. You can see that I have information about the picture in the top left, and I have the histogram in the top right. If I tap with two fingers on the screen, you can see that the histogram goes away and the information stays. If I do it once more, you can see the histogram stays and the information goes away. And I can toggle them all off by pressing that a third time. At the bottom of the screen, I have a flag icon. This is using the pick system. If I'm using the pick system to select and edit my pictures, all I have to do is slide up the screen or slide down the screen, and I can pick, I can unflag, and I can reject. I like this picture, so I'm going to pick it. If I'm using the star system as opposed to the flag system, I can click on the little flag and it will change to the star system. At which point now I can actually choose that's a 3-star or a 2-star, and I can employ my star system on this picture. Once I've finished with that picture, I can now move to the next one. And to move to the next one, just slide with your finger. You'll see at the top of the screen on the top right hand side 3 little dots that move every time I do something to a picture. And that's because those changes are being sent back to Lightroom on the desktop via a Wi-Fi connection if you have one available, or if you're using 3G also. Here's another picture that I might want to work on. Now I can select my star ratings and I can make that a 3. And at the bottom of the screen, I have different options. The first one is a film strip, so I can move easily between pictures by just selecting them with my finger. The second option is my global adjustments. The global adjustments allow me to change certain elements about the picture as I can in Lightroom on the desktop. So for example, I can customize the white balance by using a predefined white balance look, or I can use the eyedropper the same as we have in Lightroom on the desktop. If I want to, I can also change the exposure, and when I select one of these options I get a little slider, and that slider enables me either to decrease, in this case, exposure, or increase the exposure, whichever I would like. The first thing I do when I'm working with Lightroom on the desktop or on the mobile device is work on my highlights and shadows. So I'll do that just now. I'm just going to use 2 fingers, and you can see as I move 2 fingers you can see where I'm starting to clip. My white point is actually pretty good about there, so I pull that detail back from the sky. And the shadows, I'm just going to do the same thing, because there's a lot of shadow information that I can see inside that young monk. And you can see as I do that, the monk becomes much clearer. I can now zoom in with 2 fingers. I can now see the monk in more detail. What I might want to do is set the black point and the white point, because it's going to give me more contrast. So set the white point and then put the white point in place. Again, if I need to use 2 fingers, I can, and see where it's starting to clip. And the black point, now I like to clip my blacks a little bit to add more interest. So I'm just going to go about there. And you can see there that it's made quite a bit of difference on this young monk, and you can see him really coming through the scene there. I can also change my clarity to add some mid-tone contrast as well, so I'll do that a little bit. And you can see there, it just gives it a bit more punch. I also have vibrance and saturation. I can also reset this back to the basic tones, or set it back to the import or to the open of the picture in Lightroom Mobile. I can also undo previous steps by hitting the little undo, and this will undo the clarity I've just applied. If I go to the next tab along the bottom, you can see I have presets of certain look and feels that I may want to achieve with Lightroom Mobile. So I can go into Creative and it will show me some Selenium, split tone, or some cross processes. If I go to Color, you can see I can do low contrast, high contrast, cool and warm. And in black and white, I've got some presets there. So I may want to have a preset of a film look, or a contrasty look, or an automatic look. I can also crop this picture as well. I also got the aspect ratio at the bottom of the screen, so I can select them as well if I need it. So for example, it may be that I want to use a 4:3 aspect ratio on this picture, so I just select that. You can see that the crop changes based upon that aspect ratio. In the middle, you see I have a lock icon. If I have that unlocked, I can go anywhere I like. If I click on the lock icon, it will lock the aspect ratio, which means I can now put my crop in place, but it will keep the aspect ratio of 4:3. I quite like that, so I'm happy with that. And what I will do is then look to commit these changes back to Lightroom on the desktop. And you can see at the top, there's a little cloud with a plus icon. This is waiting to send those changes back to Lightroom on the desktop. If I don't have an internet connection, maybe I'm working on a plane or a bus or something, I can make my edits and Lightroom will store those edits up. And next time you get a connection with a Wi-Fi network, we'll then transfer the adjustments or enhancements over to Lightroom on the desktop, so then you have them to work on them on your laptop or your desktop when you get home. If I go back to my film strip and move to the next picture, you can see those 3 dots starting to change, and you can see it's now sending those settings back to Lightroom on the desktop, and it's also rendering me this picture for editing as well. So bi-directionally doing that update for me. So now I can carry on doing my edit, and you can see there I might like this one here, so I'm going to choose that as a 3-star, this one as a 3-star, and I get into some more interesting pictures over here of these dancers, and I can then take them down to 2 stars, maybe 3 stars, and I'm just moving on with my finger, so you can see it's really nice and fast, and I can make my edit in super quick time. Once I've finished doing my edit, I can then go back to see the whole spread or the whole set of pictures that I'm working on. The other thing I can do is I might want to send a picture to somebody else via email. So maybe I want to send this picture to somebody, because I quite like this, I think they'll like it as well. And I can then click on my little arrow icon. And what I can now do is I can share this with somebody, I can open it in with an application, I can copy it to a different place, or I can play a slideshow from here. If I share, it will open up the iOS dialog box for sharing. I can then very quickly either share to Mail or Twitter or Facebook, or save the image offline if I like it to my camera roll. If I go to Mail, I can then click on the Mail icon. It will take me into Mail, put the picture in there for me automatically, and then give me the option to send it to somebody. Okay, let's go back to Lightroom on the desktop, because I'd like to show you the changes and what's happened there. I want to show more information about this picture. I want to show the flagging, I want to show the metadata and the file type. And to do that, I can go to the View menu, View Options, and turn on the Grid Extras. And you can see I can configure this in this little box. So I'm now in the Grid view. I can also configure the Loop view, which is a single view mode. So I close that down, and that'll stay there. You can also see that these pictures are synchronized with Lightroom Mobile, just using the little icon here. Let's look at this picture that we've made a change to on the iPad. If I now move that into the development mode, you will see down here we now have the settings that we brought in from Lightroom Mobile automatically. Now at this point in time, I can now carry on my edit. It may be that I want to see if upright will work on this picture, or maybe change my lens corrections. And of course, using Canon glass, we're able to pick up that profile from the metadata, and we're able to correct any barrel distortion or pin cushioning or vignetting that may naturally occur in that lens. And you can see if I look at the profile, it's automatically picked up the lens profile for me. So now I can continue working and continue my edit. It may be that I'd like to put a vignette on here, something that I can't do on Lightroom Mobile, so I'll drag a vignette in. That just keeps me in the frame. I can work a bit more on my image using the basic panel. I could maybe use the black and white here and see how it looks in black and white, or keep it in color. I could also go down to my curves and maybe make a little S curve to give that a little bit of punch. And you can see I can carry on my edit. Any changes that I make on Lightroom on the desktop will automatically synchronize back to the iPad or the iPhone or Lightroom Mobile, and will automatically show me those changes. Now I can't obviously change any settings that I've configured that are not available in Lightroom Mobile, but it means that I can have that workflow consistent between the application and the desktop. What if I would like to take a picture on my iPhone and use that in my catalog? Okay, so here we are on the iPhone. I want to use my phone to take a picture and store that picture into Lightroom Mobile on the desktop, as well as on my mobile devices. So Lightroom Mobile uses the camera, and we'll go through the camera roll. So all I have to do is load Lightroom Mobile, and you can see that it started to find my collections and synchronize my collections automatically. You can see there that I have Bhutan as well as my Playfest, and there's my Bhutan pictures coming through now as well. I can also edit on my iPhone as well, just by picking up the picture, and you can see I have exactly the same settings at the bottom of the screen that I can work on as I did with my iPad. But I'd like to create a new collection and store any iPhone photos as well. So I press the plus key at my collection level and create a new collection. I'm going to call it iPhone Pics. Press OK. So now I can add manually from the camera roll by pressing the Add from Camera Roll, or I can enable auto import by pressing the three dots. When I do that, it will automatically add pictures from my camera roll to my iPhone camera. Let me take a picture of the studio where we are today. Okay, and go back to Lightroom Mobile. You can see it automatically brings in the picture from my camera roll. So now I can start working with that picture on my mobile device. Now maybe I want to change the shadow definition so you can see the cameras. So I can go and change my shadows, modify my highlights, the white point, exactly the same as I did on my iPad just now. You can see I can zoom in here as well and get more information about what's happening over here, and you can see that these are the cameras that I'm using today. So you see at the top again we have this little cloud icon. This is waiting for the changes to go back up to Lightroom on the desktop. So if I come out of here now, that will then turn to three dots, and it will synchronize the picture and the settings. If I now go over to Lightroom on the desktop, I go over to my library module and go into collections, you'll see in there I have iPhone Pics, and you'll see there I have the little cloud synchronization icon, and I have iPhone Pics as a folder name that I put on the iPhone. If I click on here now, you'll see here's my picture that came through from my phone, and if I go to development, and you can see there now that the changes have come through into Lightroom from the iPhone. I could then carry on my workflow process. But Lightroom is really useful when it comes down to working with your raw pictures on the go, using Lightroom Desktop as a base application, as a source application, and then make changes and really easily synchronize those changes and enhancements back to Lightroom on the desktop. So when I get home or back to the hotel or wherever I am next to work on the pictures, I can do that really easily without having to plug lots of wires in and email pictures to myself and that type of thing. But the beauty of all of this is that you're working with RAW. So I hope that's given you a good start into Lightroom Mobile. So thanks very much. It's been great talking to you, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon. Thanks very much. Bye-bye now.